Favre. He was a Jet as well, and then a Viking. You see it going the same direction, possibly?
I guess there's a possibility. I mean, we can all be bought at opportunity, and wouldn't he like to have another, that receiver there? But I would think that for me, the Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be more logical because, and in truth, I'll be honest with you, if you're going to do Aaron Rodgers in Minnesota, why not a guy who finished in the top 7 or 8 in the MVP, re-sign Sam Darnold for less money at $15 million? Let's say you give Darnold, you're not going to franchise him now because that'd be $40+ million. You're not going to sign him to a long-term contract because the last 2 games it's still in flux, and you got McCarthy coming, but he's coming off a rookie injury, and will have not played a snap, and I know you have high hopes for him. So the bridge, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to win me more games in Minnesota than Sam Darnold at this stage of their career. I just don't. And, whether the Achilles, and I hold Aaron Rodgers in the highest regard, but I can get Sam Darnold a lot cheaper to bridge the gap. And if Darnold ends up somewhere else, then that's fine. But I don't think that that's the place. For me, it's Pittsburgh because I don't think Fields is a long-term answer, and Russell Wilson's best football is behind him. And maybe the Raiders, if he wants to go out there and they want to make that commitment to Aaron on a short-term 1 or 2 year deal. But I don't see Minnesota just because it would slow down. If they are going to move on from Darnold, then that means they're just going to turn it over to McCarthy and grow from there. So it wouldn't make any sense for Aaron to go there. If you need another year bridge before McCarthy's ready, Sam Darnold played well enough for me not to go out and get most of the year. If he had a great game against Detroit in an average playoff game, Sam Darnold would already be under a new contract, I assure you. So, or whenever the free agency part started. So he'll be fine, and he may want to go somewhere and be a starter, but nobody's going to offer him, $30-35 million to leave. But he put up enough to at least entertain stuff like that.
Rock brought up the Colts yesterday. You talked about a bridge, or maybe a guy take a 30-second timeout in Richardson and bringing Aaron Rodgers in, and I think that'd be a good potential. But don't you think Rodgers wants to go where he has a chance to at least make the playoffs or one more go around and try to win it all?
Oh, 100%. And I was thinking about that, the bridge, and they had Flacco obviously filling in for Richardson. Richardson, an enormous talent, but 44 to 48% accuracy won't fly in the league. He's going to have to, whoever coaches him in the off season, whatever he does with the mechanics part of it, because the dude's he's the typical freak show we got going on. These guys that can run and throw, he can throw it from here to Indianapolis and from Texas to Indianapolis. He's got every skill you want, but the number one skill he doesn't have. Aside, and the leadership thing was in question when he begged out, and hopefully that was just a young guy, immature mistake. But the accuracy, I don't know how you survive in this league on an average, on a decent team, but average, a 9-8, 7-win team, by completing 50%, 48%, 45% of your passes. I don't see how you now. Even if he bursts out and comes out and gets to 62%, it's crazy now. But that in the NFL, that's kind of low now. So, but he could survive it then because he can make up for it with the skill set, but not in the 40s. That's not sustainable as a starting quarterback. So, but I know I go on every week in Indianapolis. They friggin' love his skill set. They love it, but they love it until 44% gets you hurt. So the question is, will he pout? Did they take that step back last year, give Flacco a go, and now bring him in? And you're just going to grow with Richardson and say he's going come hell or high water. So, but the side you guys are talking about makes perfect sense. If you're looking for a bridge, and you were a playoff team or a team that could win a Super Bowl, should I say, then Aaron Rodgers is a good go. Mm-hmm. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, why would you want to go there? I want to go somewhere. He can go anywhere and make some money. I'm hoping he's made plenty of it, and he'll make plenty of it when his career is over, whatever it is he wants to do. But I think that Aaron Rodgers ends up someplace where it gives you a chance to win. If he just wants to go to Tennessee for a year and survive it, or 2 years, make yourself $60 million or whatever it is, and you'd be great. But if you're looking to win, the question is, who is that? And of all the teams that I've gone over, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, depending on what they do. It's a good place. They've got good players. Their defense will keep them in games. It's a tough for blue-collar town that they expect to win. And Mike Tomlin's teams don't finish under 500. Or in this case now with 17 games, they don't finish under 500 and win 8 games. They just don't. But they could use a better thrower, and maybe a year coming after this injury, Rodgers will be better, and maybe have a bone to pick, and maybe even a little more, energy as the quarterback, which it seemed that it felt like New York and the whole thing just kind of took everybody's energy away, him included, and he took some energy away too. He's tough on franchises, and he's tough on his teammates, and he's tough on players. And while I love him, Pittsburgh seems like the right fit just because they're a playoff team and they're a team that with a little more offense, then you got a chance. And with him, he's far better than the two guys combined that are there now.
Sean, would he be happy, do you think, to go to a team that needs a great insurance policy, a good backup that has a chance of winning it all, but they've got their guy? But it's like, Aaron, we'd love to have you. Can't pay this, but if he so-and-so goes down, we still have a shot with you. Do you think he would look at the backup role with the right team?
I don't think he feels like he's at that stage yet from my vantage point, Manuch. I think it's, the guys who's rolling along, and he's at the age where you'd say yes. Hey man, go milk a handful more years of it, play 5, and just and lead a guy, help a guy, be there in case. Go all Joe Flacco on it, right? But I think Aaron thinks he's a legitimate starter. I think it's probably the last 2 years what happened in New York. There's got to be a little bit, while the money was good, there's got to be a little bitterness because he was hurt one, and then everything went sideways, and they ran him out. The new coach, we don't want you here. So they're basically, that's what they're telling him. So, and he hadn't had that feeling much in his career. It's usually he's running the show. So I don't see it because I think he'd be on the sidelines, and I think he's maturing more as far as helping the other guy. I don't think he feels like he's there. I think if you went to him and said, how about backing up for 2 years? We'll even pay you $40 million, $20 a year as the highest paid backup in football history. I don't think he'd do it for the simple reason. I think he'd retire first. I think he's got other interests that would drive him out. If there was only backup jobs available, I don't think Aaron Rodgers would take that. And I don't think it's the money. I think it's the ego and pride of being a backup to somebody he thinks he's better than. I don't think that would happen.
Sean Salisbury, Roc and Manuch here on ESPN 620.
3 minutes.
All right, Sean. I gotta, kind of pat myself. Yeah, gloat a little bit. My Eagles, born there, Philly, and they destroyed them. I mean, it wasn't even a game. Come on, how does that happen?
I can't remember the last. There's a couple I can't remember is what I'm about to answer. I can't remember the last time in the middle of the first quarter, late in the first quarter, I felt like I did about a Super Bowl. And it was the one score 12 times they beat teams in one score games. They've won games this year.
Yes.
The game was over. In my mind, I almost found something else to do at the end of the first quarter. That's why I got through.
Oh, really?
In the middle of the second quarter, halftime came. Because we cooked and done all that. I went and got a shower. I didn't see the halftime show.
Wow.
I came back and said, I did not one. And I'd watched the commercial halftime show. And it looked to me, I've never seen
2 minutes.
Seems so lethargic. So the lack of passion, the lack of execution, that's not him. And I mean, that's just not who he is, obviously. Or the Chiefs. It felt like they were, it felt like the other team was making the historic run. Like they were going for 3 in a row. I don't know if it's the hype. If 2 in a row was plenty, 3 in a row is too much, all the leading up to it. It looked like an ill-prepared, non-passionate, physically weak football team. Now, I say that knowing that I know who they are and that they'll be back, and Mahomes is great, but he's yanking balls into the ground. They can't block anybody. And the 2 Super Bowls they've lost now, the tackles in the game against Tampa got the backups because they were hurt. They got hammered at the line. That front 7 dominated that game, and they went on and won. The front 7, Vic Fangio had as good a game plan as you will ever see and didn't blitz once. 4 dudes were knocking those guys back into the quarterback. And then it got to the point when I know it's Mahomes in 8 years and he's invincible most of the time. His head was watching the pass rush. He'd drop back first guy and he had to bail. And I don't blame him. I get it. It was as one-sided. The score was still not indicative of the ass kicking they put on him. It was
about a minute left.
Name me a phase of the game where Kansas City was better. The one thing they did great is Barkley hit singles, like we said.
Yes.
You got to hold him to singles. And they did, even though he carried it like 25, 26 times, and he threw it and he caught some passes out of the backfield. They did shut him down from the home run. But then Hurts, who's been great under pressure in 2 Super Bowls, would have been the MVP in the previous one. Both big perimeter wide receivers get single coverage. They go score in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So they did everything that if you stop this, the other guys had to execute, and they did. And Fangio's game plan was Steve Spagnuolo-like without the pressure. Philadelphia was phenomenal. Jalen Hurts deserves more credit for being just a poised winner. And the Kansas City Chiefs got a lot of work to do because we saw some flaws in that game that were, quite frankly, a bit shocking to me. And their offensive line, they can't block any. They're going to have to improve that this offseason. It was, we were talking about over-under on, how many more will they go to? I think it's going to be tougher to get to more with those AFC quarterbacks than we think. I thought Philadelphia was masterful in it, and I thought it was absolutely spectacular game plan on both sides, and they were out-coached, meaning Kansas City. There wasn't a phase of the game that they were better than. And as I
good to wrap if you like.
Stat last week, look at the attempts. 11 rushing attempts for not the yards. 11 rushing attempts, 44 or 45 rushing attempts for the Eagles. You are not losing Super Bowls or games when you run the ball damn near 3 times more than the other team. You're going to win about 99.9% of the time. Attempts is a leading stat, and Philadelphia hammered them in that category.
Good stuff. Sean, thank you as always, buddy. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
You got it. Sean Salisbury joining us here, uncensored, unfiltered, and we always appreciate him making some time for us here on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. You can follow him on his Twitter page at Sean Salisbury, and that's SEAN and Sean. And he is brought to you today by All City Towing. Join the team at the largest towing company in the state, All City Towing. He was talking to their GM today, and he commented on me making a comment about Howie Roseman.
Yeah,
that he got hit in the head, at the parade today, and that I made a comment you may not have heard that he's not athletic, he's a GM. So my buddy took offense to that because he's a GM.
Oh,
He thinks he's athletic. So he's the guy that you would talk to if you're looking for a job
and
at All City Towing. Yes. So visit them online at allcitytowing.com. That's All City Towing, where your future is on the move. All right. The Giants are looking to sell 10% of their NFL team, and the USL, that's the league that the Phoenix Rising plays in, they got a green light to launch a top-tier league to rival MLS. That's coming up. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B now on ESPN 620 and on FM at 98.7 HD2.